heck was that structure over Skinwalker Ranch? That was insane. Okay, get in here. Let's discuss the final episode of Season 3 of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. This is Cosmic Road, where I discuss UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, and comment below as I'm going through it. Okay, let's get into this. Travis says time is running out because the weather is about to get bad as the winter begins to set in, so they bring in an expert to do 3D imaging of the ranch. They're hoping to find something in this complex, sophisticated imaging that they can't see with the naked eye. While they're waiting for the results of the 3D imaging, Travis talks to an expert in SETI, that is the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, and they're discussing the 1 gigahertz frequency that, the guys on Skinwalker Ranch are seeing a lot. And, the SETI expert says that they, if it is truly coming from another civilization, meaning alien or something, they would expect to see the signal coming from a specific direction. Now, I think in his context, he's probably talking about the stars, because that's what SETI does, as they, listen or look to the stars. And, but Travis says, well, you know what? Actually, in this one specific incident, when we were shooting up a rocket, and the signal seemed to be coming from that direction, as if it was, provoking, as if the rocket was provoking some response from the ranch, and it started to send out the signal. And it was later that night that they saw that weird orb in the forest or whatever that was leaving that kind of slimy trail behind it. Really weird orb, just unusual. I've never seen anything like it. I've seen a bunch of orb videos, but I've never seen one leave a trail behind it. So does that mean anything? Who knows? Did the 1.6 gigahertz frequency correspond to that orb? Who knows? But it's certainly very interesting. And was it the rocket launch that triggered that response? Who knows, but it's, fascinating to conjecture, but that's all it is. I don't really expect a whole lot from SETI. I actually took a course on SETI back in college. I took a whole semester on it. That was before I actually believed the aliens were here. And I thought that, aliens were out there somewhere, and, probably the best way to find them was through SETI, by listening to the stars. And, seeing if we could detect any signs of alien life out there. But it turns out they've been here the whole time. Hell, they may have created humanity. So, who knows? So I don't really expect a lot from SETI, but, that was interesting. But back to the 3D imaging. This is when things get really juicy. This is one of the highlights of the season, and one of the biggest data points that they've been able to produce. Really amazing stuff. The 3D imaging showed a towering structure. Eric calls it a phantom structure that they can't see with the naked eye, but is showing up on this 3D imaging. And if it were some sort of, disturbance or, a bug in the system, you wouldn't expect it to, it would be one pixel off, one errant pixel, but it wouldn't produce this complicated image of many, many hundreds of pixels, to produce this weird, crazy, spiraling, leaning tower shape that goes 100 feet in the air or so over part of the ranch. And that's not the only thing. That weird structure produced by the 3D imaging, or made visible by the 3D imaging, isn't the only structure. There's another smaller structure over there by the Indian circle, the circle of stones they had made. The Native Americans long ago, and we were informed this season that circle of stones, actually a spiral of stones, was created for the Native Americans to conduct rituals, and they were trying to ward off the evil coming from the mesa. And I would really love for, some Native Americans that know specifically what they were doing to come on and give more information about that. And I would love it if we could get some feedback, some results from that. They conducted these rituals to ward off the evil. Did it work? What, specifically happened during those rituals? Because we found out in season 2 that religious rituals produce an effect on the ranch. Whether that's the Jewish ritual or the Native American ritual, both of which were conducted in season 2, both of them provoked responses from the ranch. So I really hope they lean into that in season 4, if there is a season 4, and I sure hope there is. Yeah, because the religious stuff and the metaphysical consciousness stuff really is a big part of the phenomenon. And it is definitely part of the phenomenon on the ranch. But anyway, they take the second structure over there by the spiral of stones, and they line it up with the other structure. And it turns out that the biggest stone, the central stone of that spiral, of that Native American ritual site, is right between those two phantom structures, forming a line, a straight line across the ranch. So, I wish they had shown where that line was and what it lined up with. It'd be really juicy if it lined up with the object in the mesa, or, the triangle, or whatever. So I do hope they explore that more in episodes to come in the future. But yeah, the Indian elder that came on the ranch this season to discuss that site, the spiral, the stone spiral, he said that the spiral represented a portal. So, and that lines up with the petroglyphs that they studied earlier, where there was a snake-like symbol, and apparently the snakes are the guardians of portals. So, the Native Americans believed there was a portal here, or, some connection to other worlds or other planes of existence. And now there seems like that is lining up with the facts that they're discovering. So what the hell is this? These phantom structures that they're seeing, this corkscrew tower that goes 100 feet in the air that you can't see with the naked eye, but there's something there that the 3D imaging is able to map. What in the world is that? I don't know. Is that a portal? Is that some disturbance that indicates the existence of a portal? Or some energies that are creating the portal? Who knows? If anybody has any idea what the heck that is, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. This is easily probably the most fascinating thing they've discovered at Skinwalker Ranch, at least that they've released to the public. And I'm just blown away by it. I can't even speak coherently. So, just a great episode, just for that alone. So then, of course, they have to do their recap of the season, and they go to Brandon. They meet Brandon Fugel in his office, and it's the big, debrief, part of the season. They're debriefing Brandon, and he also brings in George Knapp, as well as the former governor that appeared, I think, in the first episode of this season. And that was where, at the same time the former governor was there, they caught the U.S. government surveilling the property, maybe doing their own sort of imaging. And I wonder what they found. Did they also find those phantom structures? What in the world were they doing, and what did they find? Will we ever know? That's, I would love to know. And the new AIM song, the U.F.O program, apparently they're now making it legal for people to come forward and break their non-disclosure agreements without getting in trouble, and to reveal some of the hinky stuff that's going on to the U.F.O program in the Pentagon AIM song. Now, those guys don't seem to have much interest in sharing this information, but it is possible that they could, get access to some of this stuff. Maybe they can get access to this government program that surveilled Skinwalker Ranch and find out what the hell is going on. Because it's really interesting that AIM-Song is, the direct successor in a way of ATIP and OSAP, which began at Skinwalker Ranch. And, but obviously there is a separate program going that is not affiliated with ATIP or OSAP or AIM-Song. And it is also interested in the ranch. So are these the Area 51 guys? Is this the breakaway group that is doing this? I know it's so fascinating. I hope they get to the bottom of it someday. And, this amendment to this bill allowing people to come forward could provide an avenue for that to happen. I really don't think it will. And if it does, they're probably not going to tell us anything. But anyway, it's interesting. So during the debrief, they're talking about the various things that have happened this season and the various things they've discovered. And they're talking about the 1.6 gigahertz frequency. And George Knapp says something really interesting. He says that Lou Elizondo told him about a frequency that ATIP frequently encountered in their own studies into the various, UFO sightings and events that they investigated, that there was this specific frequency that they continually encountered. He didn't say what the frequency was, but could it be that 1 gigahertz frequency? It seems likely. Anyway, so they continue to recap the season, from Tom the caretaker's injury when that signal was relayed to him at Homestead 2. He didn't hear the signal, he heard something else and, had to go to the hospital. And they also talk about what they found in the mesa. They talk about the rocket that blew up and the weird UFO that seemed to vanish either into a portal or to engage its cloaking mechanism. And so, they just basically recap the season. And, that's basically it for the episode. Brandon Fugel says, okay, so where do we go from here? And, they discuss possible steps, investigating the object in the mesa. They don't seem to want to just dig it up and blow up the mesa and go after it. I think from the flakes that came off of it, they think that maybe the object is fragile. So they want to proceed very cautiously and carefully and probably, less expensively than just digging up the whole mesa, honestly. So I don't know what that means, if it's buried deep down. If it were closer to the top, you could do something more like, archaeology or paleontology, where you just kind of sift off the sand and you do careful, slow excavations to unearth what is under there. But if it's way down there, I don't know how possible that is. So I don't know how they can, investigate that anomaly, that object, without more invasive procedures. They're talking about, maybe some sophisticated satellite imaging or something. And, that could be interesting, but I would much prefer them to dig it the hell up. They discuss other measures, and, Brandon says that they are triggering contact with the phenomenon. And that is absolutely true. They are triggering contact with the phenomenon. There seems to be some native activity to that locality, but investigating it and doing what they are doing with it triggers more events. And, you could call it contact if you like, because the phenomenon, doesn't show itself unless it wants to, typically. So if it's showing itself in response to what they're doing, you could call that contact in a sense. So, it's not direct contact in the way that we would like, where information is exchanged and understood by both sides. But it is still very interesting and very true. They are initiating contact. Brandon also says something interesting. He says that their investigations could help them understand the darkness that they are encountering there, which is the second time I think this season he has called maybe even the third, that he has called the activity at the ranch, the supernatural alien activity at the ranch, dark. I'm still not comfortable with that definition or that phrasing. I think if the phenomenon at the ranch wanted to be dark, it could really be dark. So instead, it's kind of playing with them and toying with them, occasionally hurting them. Yes, it absolutely does that. And it can manifest itself in very scary, even terrifying ways. So there is definitely darkness to it. But to characterize the whole thing as dark, I'm not quite comfortable with. But Brandon probably knows what's going on there better than I do. But what do you think? Is the phenomenon at Skinwalker Ranch dark, neutral, light, a little bit of both? What do you think it is? Oh, and George Knapp, who I'm a big fan of, and he's really kind of the one that kickstarted this whole thing, says that the current UFO binge, as he calls it, the world has been experiencing the last few years, stems directly from Skinwalker Ranch. And of course it absolutely does. As I've talked about before, it was the investigations into the ranch by NIDS and the Pentagon later that allowed the creation of OSAP and A.T.s, and later Lou Elizondo coming forward, and others, and TTSA releasing the videos. None of it would have happened without the investigation into Skinwalker Ranch, specifically by Bob Bigelow, who's really the one that started it all. Also, it was George Knapp's book, The Hunt for the Skinwalker, co-authored by the lead scientist of the investigation, the NIDS team, Colm Kelleher, that I think drew the attention of the DIA agent that came onto the ranch. And his experiences there directly led to the creation of OSAP and A.T.s. So Bob Bigelow, hugely important in all of this, as are George Knapp and Colm Kelleher. And Lou Elizondo, of course. But it's important to remember that NIDS, the team of scientists that Bob Bigelow assembled to study the ranch, didn't just investigate UFOs. It wasn't just nuts and bolts stuff they were investigating. They were also investigating the more spiritual and paranormal aspects of the phenomenon on the ranch. There were shadow people, there were poltergeist-like activity, giant wolves that didn't respond to bullets, wolfmen, all sorts of weird, more paranormal, spooky sort of stuff. In my own research, when I came to Skinwalker Ranch, because I had avoided it for a while because it just seemed so weird, I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole. But when I dived into Skinwalker Ranch, dove into Skinwalker Ranch, do you dived or dove? Anyway, when I researched Skinwalker Ranch and came across all the ghosty stuff, at the time I was an atheist, and I was like, the Pentagon is investigating ghosts? That's crazy. That's nonsense. I assumed that was some sort of alien technology that just was manifesting itself in ghosty ways. But I was really curious about it. I did a lot of research on ghosts. I co-founded a ghost hunting team and began doing ghost hunts and started to have my own experiences. And I continued doing lots of research, led me to near-death experiences, researching that, as well as a whole host of other things. I started learning Reiki, and I am now a Reiki master. I started having my own spiritual experiences. Powerful stuff. I've had some amazing experiences, and I can't wait to tell you about those in a future video. Very, very powerful stuff. And I never would have had those experiences if I had not researched Skinwalker Ranch. So thank you, George. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Lou. All those guys for showing me and the rest of the world what is possible and the mysteries that are out there to unravel. All in all, a terrific season, and I can't wait for season 4. Hopefully there will be a season 4. I think this show has been doing really well, so it should get renewed. So fingers crossed on that. What do you think? What were your favorite parts of this season and this episode? Let me know in the comments below. As always, please give this video a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Please hit the subscribe button, and if you do, the bell next to it to be notified of future videos. Also, since people seem to really like these reviews, what other paranormal or UFO type shows would you like me to review next? I've heard good stuff about the Mystery of Blind Frog Ranch, as well as the UFO Files. I think that's what it's called. But correct me if I'm wrong, and let me know if you think of any other shows you would like for me to review and comment on in the comments below. Until next time, Cosmic Road out.